Hey, it's Jack, and this video is called the #1 simplest way to avoid being breadcrumbed. Listen, if you're someone that principally dates men, I've got a resource for you that I want you to check out. Click the link at the top here. It's called the He's Your Guy checklist, and it's just 9 simple steps that I put together that you can run any person through, any guy through, just to work out, is this person investing in a relationship? Because we only want you investing in relationship if there's an equal investment coming from the other side. So if you are investing or considering to invest more in a relationship, let me do some of the lifting with you. Just click that link and download my free guide. All right, let's get into today's topic. Whoa! Let's kick the tripod! Great planning! So today's topic is about breadcrumbing. Now, if you've been on my channel for a while, you'll know that this is something I've talked about. So I was reflecting today, I was thinking, what's something that I could do that would just be quick and easy and simple to help you get just a clear read on if this is a property or a propensity, a likelihood in a connection that is unfolding in front of you. Said differently, are there some signs that you can pay attention to? And I thought, well, let's just make it super simple. If there's just one thing that I wanted you to pay attention to, what would it be? Because this way, it's like, let's reduce the noise and let's just get you focused in on one thing. So that one thing that I came up with is this question: is he in his heart with you? Is he in his heart with you? And perhaps another way of saying that is, does he have something on the line in the connection? Does he have something on the line? Because if he's got nothing on the line, it's more likely that he can kind of walk away, block you, because he doesn't really care, right? What I'm trying to say is, if a guy cares because there's something at risk, there's something on the line, his heart in it, we don't know where the connection's going to go, right? That's not necessarily saying it's going to work out. That's not necessarily saying you're actually going to be in a relationship. But if his heart is on the line, if his feelings are on the line, if he's got something that he's afraid to lose. Now, as a guy, this can be a vulnerable experience, right? When you're noticing, oh wow, I've got feelings, like I actually care where this goes. There's a vulnerability because you don't know where it's going. She may not be interested as you are, right? There may be an asymmetry of interest, right? Or I may make a fool of myself because I'm so excited to see you, or because I'm kind of like tongue-tied at times, or, you know, any of these sort of physical manifestations that, yeah, like I care about this and I'm concerned about it. That's your best bet. If there's nothing of that, if it's all kind of, hey babe, it's all casual, it's all just hit you up occasionally when I'm in the mood or when I'm feeling drawn or sexually attracted to you, that's not to say that type of connection you have to dismiss. It depends what you want. But most of you, when you're writing to me, what you want is something that could go somewhere, right? Or you want something that's got some meaning to it, right? If he's got nothing from his side that's making him think this is more meaningful than I'm attracted to you, I find you hot, I'm interested in getting your attention, there's got to be something more than that. And the simplest way is, notice if he's in his heart with you. Notice if there is some vulnerability. Notice if there is some awkwardness at times. You can also get other people's feedback about this, right? So if you're spending time with anyone else, have them notice, like, what do you think this guy's intentions are? Where do you think he's at? What do you think he's available for? He may or may not be able to articulate that clearly to himself, right? I think sometimes as guys, we're not always super accurately dialed into what our availability is or isn't for a meaningful connection. So this is where you can actually pay attention to this. Now, you might be listening this far and say, well, that's all well and good, Jack. I've had meaningful connections with men and I know it meant something, and I got completely ghosted and it was heartbreaking. I haven't even recovered from it yet. And if that's happened to you, I want to say, look, I'm sorry. I get why that would be completely unfathomable, or it would just really shake your kind of foundation or your trust. I do think that is a minority of cases. So I want to say there are other possibilities out there. And what we want to check is that, how do we know if the connection is meaningful to him, right? Because sometimes if the connection is really meaningful to us, it could be that we over-ascribe meaning over there. And it might be that words have been exchanged, right? He might tell you regularly, how attracted he is to you, or how much you mean to him, or how beautiful you are. Those things may or may not be connected to a deeper heart truth, right? A lot of that can be about attraction and chemistry. The question is there a place for you in his heart? Is he even in touch with that? And of course, this isn't going to happen immediately, right? So this is more for those connections where you are starting to see a connection unfolding. If it's like, we send each other a few messages on a texting app and then he didn't reply, I'm sorry, but that kind of thing hopefully is less hurtful to you because there's actually been not an investment from your side, right? And part of what this channel I've talked about a lot is how to not get overly attached to something that actually isn't a connection really, let alone a relationship, right? So we don't want to prematurely ascribe a connection or relationship where that's actually not an appropriate label. But if things are starting to unfold a little bit more, then you want to pay attention to this facet. Is he in his heart? Is he connected to this being something that's more than less meaningful? How would I know that? Does he talk about it to people other than me? If I meet his friends, do they have any sense of who I am or what this connection is? If I get introduced to his coworkers, am I ever introduced to his coworkers or his friends? Or is that ever going to be part of the connection? And what I'm talking about here, to give it some fancy phrases, because you like my fancy phrases, right? This is what we would call necessary, but not sufficient. And what I mean by that is, if you're not in his heart at all, then it's unlikely the connection is going to go somewhere, right? So if you want something meaningful, you might just have to downshift or let go of that connection, or start putting energy elsewhere, right? So necessary but not sufficient, it means for it to be a connection that could go somewhere, it's necessary that there's some level of on the line from him, right? There's some level of investment, heart, fear even, right? Fear of loss, fear that this might not work out, fear that he might not be the person that you're interested in. Kind of from his side, a sense of like, wow, yeah, I actually care about this. Even if you put this in a completely different domain, right? Like you're going for a job interview, you've probably had experiences of going to an interview where like, I don't really care if I get this or not. And that might be just amazing spiritual non-attachment, and if it is, congrats. But it might just be like, yeah, I don't really want the job anyway, right? We want him to want the job, or at least be curious about the job. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way, saying this is just a job, it's hard work. I mean, a job in the best sense of like the passion and the interest and I want to see how this unfolds. And yes, I want to show up for this interview, and I'm nervous for it because I don't want to perform in an inauthentic way, but I kind of want to do my best, and I kind of want to impress upon you what I could bring to this job or connection, right? So there's something of that. It's it's an alertness and care and curiosity from his side of the fence. If you don't see that, it doesn't mean that it could never unfold, but you need to be sober that it's not present right now. And if you guys have been connecting for a while, maybe if we were betting people, we wouldn't bet that it would unfold that way. Conversely, and this one can be confusing, and I've heard a lot of people in this situation, where the guy is like super into it super quickly, right? Where he's kind of like, I call this like, you're the solution to my problems guy, right? Like my whole life I've been waiting for you. This just feels so good. It's so amazing. I feel like I've known you for a long time. Now, sometimes a small proportion of those go the distance. There are times where people just immediately meet and it seems like they have some deep recognition or knowing, and it unfolds and it becomes a real relationship. That is a minority of instances, I think. The majority experience that I hear of is the guy gives all that, but then at some point he really downshifts, he drops off a cliff. You start to realize actually he's putting all his attention on the relationship, or the connection, but there's not really other things that are going on in his life, right? So this is sometimes a version of mergy guy where he kind of wants to be all over into your life, but doesn't really maybe take care of his own life. So what I'm talking about when there's something invested from him, I'm talking about that in a sort of stage appropriate way. Again, it's a bit of a fancy phrase, but just appropriate to the stage of connection that you have. If he's all over head over heels and you only met him 2 hours ago, you might want to sober up and just let time be your friend and notice, is the connection actually going somewhere after a few hours or days or weeks or months, right? So too much of this investment too soon, you need to, what is the definition of true sobriety, right? Not too much, not too little. If it's too much from him too soon, we want to ask questions. If we've been connecting for a long time and it's still too little and there's no sense that really there's anything at risk for him, he's not really willing to show up, make something happen, then you've probably got a similar answer. So if any of this is of interest to you, I'd love to have you with us. Just tap subscribe. I release videos every week on dating, authenticity, personal growth, and other topics. And again, if you haven't, just click that link up here, download my free guide, or you'll find it's the first link beneath this video. Also, it's the Here's Your Guide checklist. It's a good way of just giving you some proxies, some things that you can pay attention to notice that you may not have thought of how is this guy orienting towards this connection. As always, please leave me a comment beneath this video. I'd be curious to know what your experience is. I'd be curious to know if this is making sense to you, or if you've had experience of breadcrumbing that you want to share. I look forward to hearing all your experiences. So leave me a comment. And as always, I'm Jack. Thanks for being here.